All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin our meeting, but before we do, I will ask any of you who are interested to stand with me. I'm going to have a moment of silence, and then I will follow that with a pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the May 17th meeting of the Sumner County Board of Education. And Jeremy Jr., I understand, is taking up the helm at Mr. Johnson's absence. I'm not too sure about the junior part, but do you have the roll call, Mr. Hasse? All members are present except Mr. Daniels. All right, board, if it's all right, before we get to the adoption of agendas and that sort of thing, we do have the Howard Elementary School select choir. Sean has assured me that this is the best choir in the entire world. And so we're going to let them come on up if we can and present to us without objection.
Giving us a moment to get situated. My name is Laura Edwards. I'm a music teacher at the best elementary school in the world, Howard Elementary. And we have the best principal in the world, Cindy Swafford. This is our Howard Harmony Select Choir. It's a group of 4th and 5th graders who have to audition to be in the group. And not only do they have to audition out of about 150 kids, they also have to keep up their grades. Their behavior has to be just absolutely perfect, and they have to be regular attenders at our choir rehearsal. So they really put in a lot of work, and so do their parents. I appreciate everyone allowing us to come tonight, and all the parents for getting the kids here tonight. We're going to begin tonight with an a cappella piece, America the Beautiful. We ended up with 2 readers. We thought we weren't going to have any. So, Selena and Joey, would you both come up? And Joey, you can tell the first part of how America the Beautiful was written. And Selena, would you share the last part? Yeah, why don't you come right up here? That'd be good.
In 1893, Catherine Lee Bates traveled to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado. There, as she viewed the purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains, she was inspired to write the poem America the Beautiful.
Later, her words were added to melody composed by Samuel Ward.
decided this year to have our music remind us how we do need to take care of our earth and how fast it's disappearing. Some of these kids aren't getting to experience what some of us experienced growing up, and it's a shame. Also, we're kind of focusing on being kind to each other and doing what we can, supporting one another. The first song we're going to sing is called Evergreen, Ever Blue, and in the middle of the song, Annabelle Vick is going to have a speaking part, and we'll continue.
Right now is when we're needed. We can all do something. The young, the old together, 'cause the more we get together, the more we help this planet Earth to stay evergreen, ever blue as it was in the beginning. We've got to see it through. Evergreen, ever blue. At this point in time, it's up to me, it's up to you.
very difficult thing to do in those parts. Our last song today, and I know you've got a long meeting ahead of you. Thank you guys for giving us an avenue to share our talents. This is just about the best group of kids because they have to always not have a director. I'm always at the piano. And so they are, they have to do a lot on their own, whereas I can't be in front of them all the time. So they really, really do a great job. Our last song is called The Tree Song. And it's not exactly about going green, but it is about doing your best wherever you're planted. Bloom where you're planted, do your best, even if you don't have all the supplies you need or everything we need here. We always do our best.
I saw a tree by the riverside one day as I walked along, straight as an arrow and pointing to the sky, and growing tall and strong. How do you grow so tall and strong? I said to the riverside tree. This is the song that my tree friends sang to me. I've got roots growing down to the water. I've got leaves growing up to the sunshine. And the fruit that I bear is a sign of the life in me. I am shade from the hot summer sundown. I am nest for the birds of the heavens. I'm becoming what the Lord of trees has meant me to be. A strong young tree. I saw a tree in the winter time as snow lay on the ground. Straight as an arrow and pointing to the sky as winter winds blew all around. How do you stay so tall and strong? I said to the wintertime tree. This is the song that my tree friends sang to me. I've got roots growing down to the water. I've got leaves growing up to the sunshine. And the fruit that I bear is the sign of the life in me. I am shade from the hot summer sundown. I am nest for the birds of the heaven. I'm becoming what the Lord of trees has meant me to be. A strong young tree. I saw a tree in the city streets where buildings block the sun. Green and lovely I could see, it gave joy to everyone. How do you grow in the city streets? I said to the downtown tree. This is the song that my tree friends sang to me. I've got roots growing down to the water. I've got leaves growing up to the sunshine. And the fruit that I bear is a sign of the life in me. I am shade from the hot summer sundown. I am nest for the birds of the heaven. I'm becoming what the Lord of trees has meant me to be. A strong young tree.
All right, thank you guys. Sean, you were right, my friend. You were right. That was great.
We will exit as quickly and quietly as we can.
All right. We'll give you a minute to get cleared out. I hope moms and dads all got pictures. If not, we will have videos for sale. Yeah, I will remind you, in all seriousness, we do now broadcast our school board meetings on SchoolTube. You can find a link from the sumnerschools.org website if you'd like to see a replay of the meeting.
She said they were all good students, but to see the judges here, just make sure they're on our video.
All right, and board, as they're exiting, Mr. Wise has just asked also, while we're on a couple of the recognitions, that the White House Middle Creative Thinking and Problem Solving winners, that we go ahead and recognize them. So without objection, Mr. Wise?
I didn't hear any objections. White House has another state championship. I said another. White House Middle School participated in future problem solving at the state level. Out of 20, I tell you what, let's go ahead and have Dr. Mofield and Rebecca Brown. Are you in the audience? Rebecca Brown, come on up here, please. This is Dr. Emily Mofield, one of our fantastic teachers at White House Middle School. Rebecca Brown is representing the team from White House Middle School. White House Middle School participated in future problem solving at the state level. Out of 25 teams, White House Middle School won the entire state competition. They get to represent the state and our county in the International Conference in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Future problem solving is an excellent program that teaches students not what to think, but how to think. I could have used some of that. Students are taught to analyze a global problem in the future by thinking about the problem from 16 different perspectives. How the problem affects the environment, transportation, social relationships, technology, defense, law, psychological health, and so on. Then students choose one aspect of the problem and solve it 16 different ways. We could use some of that, couldn't we? Finally, the students develop an elaborate action plan detailing how the problem will be best solved. These are great skills for our students to learn. The students are taught how to be creative, critical thinkers. Dr. Mofield, thank you for your leadership. Congratulations to your team. Ms. Brown, congratulations to you. Thank you so much.
Ted, get down there and get a picture made there. All right, we seem to have started a pattern here. Mr. Gregory, if you would, we're going to go ahead and recognize Steve Shanklin. And is Steve here?
He is.
Steve, I got to tell you, I know what this one's about. Man, oh man.
Mr. Gideon.
I'm here.
Oh, excuse me.
Slipped up on you there, didn't I, Glenn?
Stephen Dale Shanklin is the son of Jeff and Joe Ellens Shanklin, and other members of the family, I believe, are here tonight. And I believe they deserve a little recognition with this because it takes a family to put together what Stephen has done. He's graduating with an honor of probably the only senior in Sumner County. Stephen will graduate from Portland High School with 13 years of perfect attendance. I told Stephen about 10 years ago, when he had 2 or 3 years of perfect attendance, I said, Stephen, if you'll continue this through high school, I'll make sure that you get recognized. Well, I'd see him every year or so, and I'd look at him, and he said, it's still perfect. So, Stephen, tonight, the Sumner County Board of Education takes great pleasure and pride in honoring you for your accomplishment. And we have a certificate that says Stephen Dale Shanklin, May 17th, 2011, perfect attendance for all 13 years. Mr. Gideon.
Mr. Gideon, Stephen.
I will say from Portland High School, we're very proud of Stephen. He's done a great job. He's a great student, and all the principals can take a great deal of pride. Wiseman, Portland Middle School, and Portland High School. He's a fine young man, and there's not many that can accomplish that during a month, much less for 13 years. So congratulations, Stephen. Excellent job.
Stephen, do you have something you'd like to say? Stephen, you have something you want to say? Hit that silver button right in the middle of the mic.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the whole board of Sumner County to thank you for recognizing me, and most especially Mr. Gregory. I've always admired him ever since I've had him in elementary school. I can actually remember the first day I was in elementary school. In kindergarten, I can remember him pulling me out of class for some things. So we got acquainted real quickly. But he's always stuck in my mind, and I've always had that in the back of my head that, I'd always get recognized for it. And I felt like, if anything else, I knew I would probably never make all straight A's throughout my high school career. But I felt one thing that may differentiate myself from everyone else is that maybe I can make 13 years of perfect attendance. And maybe that drive just might show that maybe not all straight A's are always the only thing that get recognized. And I feel like maybe someone else might be able to accomplish this same task. And I feel very accomplished about this. Yesterday was my last day, and a lot of things went wrong yesterday morning, and it was a handful. But we made it through, and it's been a great 13 years. So
Thank you. That is absolutely incredible. Incredible. Okay, as I said, a pattern has developed. We're now moving backwards up the agenda, and we will recognize T.W. Hunter.
My name is Mrs. Warner, and I teach English 7th grade at T.W. Hunter, and I also take on advanced classes during advisory, and we work on different extracurricular academic competitions, if you will. And I have 3 competitions that my students competed in this year. Not all of them could be here, especially with it being May. They have tennis and all sorts of things going on, but I'd still like to read their name, and these 3 students are here. First one is National History Day. Back in August, we started researching, and the students had to have 20 resources, and it had to cover a historical concept. And Grace, you can go stand out there, that'd be great. Allie, you have a buddy. And then Fallon and Courtney were also on their team, and they researched the Memphis Riot Acts and they developed a website and went to MTSU and competed, and also had to do an interview while they were there, so they got a lot of learning experience. They didn't place, but they learned a lot. So thank you guys for competing in that. We also had 2 boys that did D-Day, Avery Glenn and Jonathan Hasselblad, and they created a documentary with videos and sound and all sorts of stuff. And then we had 2 girls that did a display, and they ended up creating a podium and had information all on the podium, and it rotated, and that was Jordan Spicer and Reagan Sheen, and they did the Lincoln Douglas debates. So that was awesome, and that competition took place in March at MTSU. And then Emily here competed at the VFW essay competition on the local level at Hendersonville, and she placed on an essay that had to do with patriotism. And then we also had Hunter McGee, who competed in that, and Seth Crabtree as well, and they both placed. And then Seth also placed at the district level. So that was an awesome job writing essays, which they loved doing. Actually, Emily, I kind of made do it, but she did it in great spirits. And then Emily and Allie both also placed at Liberty Festival, which was held in Hendersonville in April. And Emily wrote an essay and then had to read it at the festival, and it was involving the Constitution. Yep, the purpose of the Constitution. And then Allie created a poster, and they were both recognized there as well. So I just wanted to have them recognized, because I think oftentimes they get more placed on top of them and don't always get the recognition that they deserve. So thank you, guys. Good job.
Ms. Cox?
I was just going to say, Ms. Warner is one of those teachers at Hunter that constantly challenges our students, and I'm always appreciative of that. That cute little green one is my daughter, so I'm kind of especially proud of her. But no, I appreciate her always just challenging our students to excel more and take on these contests and things like that. And it really paid off for these girls. They many of these contests were cash rewards. So I know my daughter won cash prizes in both of those contests. So again, not only does it challenge them in their writing abilities, but they're able to earn money, and be rewarded for that. So again, I just want to thank Ms. Warner for challenging our students and doing such a good job in that. And my daughter's pretty cute too, so.
We need to get another picture of her up here by herself to show her cuteness. She seemed a little embarrassed by that, Miss Cox. All right, good job. We're going to continue with this if we can. Mike Tao, I'd like to invite him up to the podium. He has some awards recognizing District Teacher of the Year.
Mr. Long and Mr. Bills will need to join me here pretty soon, or now. Right now. That's pretty good, and tell the chairman of the board and the schools director to get over here, Well, you used to be in the Army, so you're used to taking orders. I can't get over that young man with 13 straight years. I mean, Cal Ripken's got nothing on that guy. Yeah. I mean, I think I made it about 13 days in first grade before I ditched or got sick or something. Well, anyways, this is to recognize the 3 Teachers of the Year. First of all, thank you, Mr. Long, Mr. Bills, and the entire board for having the Gallatin News-Examiner and Hendersonville Star-News here to be able to present these. I'm going to call them up one at a time and talk a little bit about them. First of all, Daniel Johnson, High School Teacher of the Year from Gallatin High School. Come on up, Dan. Dan is a honors French teacher at Gallatin High School. He's been there for 6 years, I believe. Principal Ron Becker had this to say about him. What Mr. Johnson brings to the table is the relationship piece that we push here, but he also gives you high energy and great content. I took 3 years of French in high school, and it sounds like one day with you would be a lot more exciting than any of those 3 years I took. Seriously. I mean, this is a guy that really uses technology in the French classroom. I think it's pretty neat. He's incorporated the video conferencing program Skype into a cultural project about the difficulties of learning a new language by calling a brother in China. Okay, next up we have John Creasy, the Middle School Teacher of the Year for Westmoreland Middle School. John here? He's not here. Either that or he's being really quiet. Anyways, John is a 7th grade social studies teacher at Westmoreland Middle School. Debbie Brown, who's the bookkeeper at the school, had this to say about him. I've worked with him for 19 years, and I think he's top-notch in anything he does. Anything he does it right. They adored him, she said, referring to the fact she had two kids who've been students of his. He is a great teacher, and as a parent, one of the best teachers both my students have ever had. That's for John Creasy. And finally, these are 3 teachers out of I think it's more than 2,000 teachers in the entire school district. Does this sound about right? So, I mean, this is pretty elite class of teachers here. We have Marcy Nitch, the Sumner County's Elementary Teacher of the Year from Madison Creek Elementary School. Come on up, Marcy. Come on, Jennifer. Okay, I guess that's it. Let's go ahead and get a shot at both of them here with Mr. Bills and Mr. Long. Jennifer, tell us her. Let's get out from behind the podium.
While they're taking this picture, I just want to congratulate all of you all for all your work. You've obviously been recognized by your peers as being outstanding in your field. My daughter's actually had the pleasure of having Mrs. Nitch in elementary, and she's one of their tops in terms of teaching. And so I just commend all of you all for your hard work, and thank you for Sumner County Publications for recognizing our teachers. I appreciate that.
Okay, we got one more to do this year. It's a great honor to be able to honor somebody who's given, well, basically 46 complete years to the Sumner County School District, living in Gallatin that whole time. And like I said, Mr. Bill started off in the Army, so he gets a few points there in my book.
Thank you.
But anyways, I want to give him this little memento. Let me read it before I give it to him. To Benny Bills, in appreciation of 46 years of exemplary servant leadership as a Sumner County educator and administrator in your various positions as teacher, coach, principal, superintendent, and director of schools. Best wishes going forward from the staffs of the Gallatin News-Examiner and Hendersonville Star News.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you very much. You bet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Tower released me from having to stand at the podium, so I'll regain my seat up here. If it's all right, Board, so we can just have this agenda item complete. We had one person sign up. Was there anyone else in the audience that wished to speak on an agenda item? All right, seeing none, we do have one person, Sharon Walker. Ms. Walker, if you would, please come to the podium. Give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Sharon Walker. My address is 1012 Fox Glen, Gallatin. As a member of the SCA negotiations team, I'm honored to represent the dedicated teachers of Sumner County. On March 22nd, the court said that the board should return to good faith negotiations with the SCEA. Unfortunately, the board's negotiating team would not schedule a meeting with the SCEA, even a 5-minute meeting to sign an agreement on bonuses the board already approved until last week. That delay by the board's team in resuming negotiations left teachers without those bonuses as expected in their April or May paychecks. We were finally able to return to negotiations on May 10th. SCA is pleased to report its ratification of a standalone agreement signed that evening for the payment of these bonuses. We urge the board to also ratify that agreement tonight so that the bonuses may be included in all teachers' June paychecks. The board also kept a portion of the Education Jobs Fund money set aside for a possible retirement incentive. Last week, we proposed a retirement bonus of $400 per year of service in Sumner County. Such a bonus will show appreciation to retirees for years of service and also offer some incentive to teachers who are contemplating retirement. Additionally, if offered on a regular basis, it will serve as an incentive for experienced teachers to remain here rather than taking their talents elsewhere. We are continuing our negotiations on fringe benefits, 2011-12 salary, and insurance. In this day, when all the talk is about how to make it easier to get rid of bad teachers, we must also acknowledge that keeping the good teachers is equally important to the quality of public education. I'm sure that every board member here has at some time remarked that they appreciate the work that teachers do. As the saying goes, talk is cheap. A school system, like any other employer, shows its appreciation of good teachers and retains those good teachers with competitive salaries and benefits. The Sumner County Education Association's goal is to have Sumner County schools be that positive working environment where good teachers are encouraged to stay and to perform at their optimum level. This, we believe, is the best way to ensure the children of Sumner County receive the highest quality education possible. We implore you, as members of the Board of Education, to work with us toward that goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. All right, Board, next item on our agenda is adoption of agendas. First up is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Cox. Is there a second by Mr. Duncan? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show that that passes. Next is adoption of the regular agenda. Can I get a motion? Motion by Mr. Wise. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Cox. Any discussion on the regular agenda? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll show that's been adopted. Next item on our agenda is consideration of minutes. First up is the April 19th, 2011 regular meeting minutes. Item A, is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Duncan. Is there a second?
Chairman.
Let me get a second, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brewer. Mr. Gregory?
Mr. Hossie, I'd like for you to, on unfinished business, A, where it says Mr. Gregory moved, Mr. Brown second, to rescind the board's previous action January the 18th, that let the minutes reflect that the reason that motion was made is for the money to be used for other monies for teachers.
Mr. Hale?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if this is an error or not. Under A, recognition, hearing of delegations, Teresa Crownover introduced herself to the board as the president of the classified employees. I'd like to just ask Mr. Johnson to review that. I didn't know we had a president of the classified employees, so
Yeah.
she did. I don't have a problem with it, but I just want to make sure that it goes in the record correctly.
Mr. Odd, is that what? President? Self-appointed president. All right, there you go. All right, we do have a change by Mr. Gregory. Is there any opposition to that change? All right, seeing none, Mr. Hossie, do you have those corrections to the minutes? All right, any further discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show those have been adopted. Next is the April 25th, 2011 special called minutes. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Hale. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Duncan. Mr. Duncan, do you have something?
Yeah. I don't have first page of the minutes.
Yeah, they're kinda out of order.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. You gotta flip over. They're page 3. Page 1 is page 3, I think. And it actually, if page 1 of those minutes are page, I don't know. Yeah, they're in the back somewhere. Just, I'm not sure what page they're on. All right, are there any changes to the minutes from the special called meeting? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show those minutes been adopted. Board, if we can, we're gonna step outside of our agenda again. We have a couple of items in executive session, and in light of the fact that we have one of our attorneys here, I'd like to go ahead and go into executive session and see if we can get that taken care of. So we'll stand in recess until we come back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting back to order. Before we move on, we did have one item we needed to add to our agenda when we adopted agendas, and that was this budget amendment that Ms. Dursky put in each of our boxes. Without objection, this is a substitute. Is that right, Ms. Dursky?
Two of them are substitutes, and the third one is an additional new amendment.
All right.
The top two are substitutes.
All right, so without objection, we'll put these at the end of our agenda. We'll substitute two, and then one is additional. All right, board, we are back in the meeting. Is there any motions based on any of the conversation provided to us or information provided to us by our board attorney? Mr. Hale?
I do have a motion, based on attorney's advice, to hire Amber St. John to handle the Chancery suit, circuit suit that we discussed.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brewer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show that that motion passes. Mr. Hale? No?
No, that's it.
All right. Board, are there any other motions from the executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and go ahead and settle this agreement with the mutual release and settlement and the Blake Kelly issue, and have the release and settlement attached to the minutes as presented to us by council.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wise. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Let me see the no hands, please. No by Mr. Long and Mr. Hale. So motion carries. All right. Next, unfinished business, item A, report on school bus advertising program. Ms. Sweeney?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sure everyone looked through your packet and saw the audit report and the findings that were noted. And basically what I'll do is just answer questions. I'm sure you don't want me to read this to you again.
No, but if you would, just for the record, Ms. Sweeney, if you could just kind of go over it in general terms. You don't
Okay.
have to read the details, but kind of just remind the board where we are and what it is you looked at, what the original agreement was, and that sort of thing.
Okay. The board asked me to do an audit, and what I did, based my audit on was the agent agreement between First Class Marketing and the Sumner County Board of Education, which I provided a copy. It was dated July 30th, 2010, and it hired First Class Marketing to act as an agent in selling, producing, and installing school bus advertisements on school buses. So I based my audit on the contract verbiage, and basically the personnel at First Class Marketing provided me with copies of contracts, invoices to the advertisers. They provided me with copies of checks where the advertiser had made payment to them. I will say they were cooperative, and then from there I prepared a spreadsheet based on the contract. In the contract, it states that the board receives 60% of the proceeds, and First Class Marketing will retain 40%. And based on those numbers and the gross proceeds that were shown in the contract between First Class Marketing and the advertiser, I developed a spreadsheet that came up with the total money collected and the 60% that was, according to the contract, the basis of, that was a portion of the school board. From there, the contract also stated that revenue would be submitted to the board within 45 days of receipt by First Class Marketing. I looked at the contract dates, the check dates. I allowed, I think, 7 to 10 days for mail time from the advertisers to mail it to First Class Marketing before I started calculating the 45 days. And the spreadsheet that's attached, you will see that I estimated the date of receipt by First Class Marketing, and the date it should have been remitted to the school board in 45 days. After compiling this, the total revenue collected by First Class Marketing was $45,898. 60% of the revenue would be $27,538.80 to the school board. To date, as of, I think the date was March 31st, payment has been made to the school board of $5,422.80. If you'll notice in the audit report, First Class Marketing did submit a response that, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but from conversations I've had with them, the cost of implementing the program and actually the sales costs, the marketing costs, the production cost far exceeded what they had originally planned or budgeted for, and that all the revenue they received, other than the 5,000 some odd dollars they had paid us, they have reinvested back in the program. So, and I guess tonight, basically what the audit report is stating is, according to contract, there are some violations. The First Class Marketing has stated their extenuating circumstances to those contract violations, and I guess it's your decision about what needs to be done.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cox?
Thank you, Ms. Sweeney, for your work. I appreciate that. I guess some of my questions, I certainly understand when a company endures, I guess hardships or more costs than they originally expect. But I want to know why that was not brought to our attention as a board. It seems like to me we have a contract with the company to provide services. And when those services are, for some reason, if their costs are increasingly more than they think, then that my assumption would be you would bring that back to board's attention so we could address those concerns. I mean, I'm a little confused at why all of a sudden we're coming a year later and, we are owed $22,000, but they're saying, oh, I'm sorry, our expenses outweighed that. Well, we didn't know anything about that until I found out when I was looking through here that we have not gotten a dime from them since just about we started this contract with them. Mm-hmm. We should not be having to come back to them and ask that. This was not what the agreement said. So you need to fulfill your contractual agreement with us, or let us know if there are problems in it, before we bring it to your attention, bring an auditor to your door.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of where my problem is right now.
Okay, and I really don't want to answer for them. They are here, and they are willing to speak to you all if you would like that. But, I know we've had conversations about it, but I really don't feel comfortable, speaking for them. So if you would like them to come up, I'll be glad to let them answer that.
Mr. Chairman,
Brown?
I'd like to make a motion that we have these gentlemen come up and give this side of the presentation. Now, I'll make a long story short, if I could do that. We first become involved in this situation. There was some other companies, one out of Texas, that come in riding cowboy hats and all, and tell us what all they could do for us. And this venture is relatively new as far as putting ads on school buses, and it would be a new sale, a hard sale. And I'd like to hear from these gentlemen if they had a misunderstanding about the brokerage rate. I'd like to hear about it from them and see if we can reach some kind of agreement into this thing, because I was in favor of these gentlemen because I do happen to know both of them, but not on a business acquaintance. And I do know them, to be honest, true. And my opinion was that we need to go with a local Sumner County company if we could do that, instead of going with somebody out of Tupelo or Dallas or Fort Fumble or wherever. So we did that, and that's how we got involved in this. So I'd like to, at this time, have these gentlemen step up and tell us where they are and what they were where they were confused about and so on.
All right, have a motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wise. Any discussion? All in favor of suspending the rules to allow them to speak signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right.
This
If you would, just identify yourself, and, for the record, who you represent.
Okay. I'm Ron Elliott with First Class Marketing, and I agree with Ms. Cox. It's a long time coming, and we were kind of, if you want me to go back, I mean, I kind of rather do it in a study session or where we can actually all talk or with the bus committee, but that's fine. We've studied this and studied this. We were, and I know it's not a contract, let me just say that, okay? But we're salesmen first and foremost. We were experts. We've done this for 35 years. And whether it's selling bus advertising or selling Green Giant can, corn or Kodak film, we know how to sell. Well, we were under the impression in the very beginning of this that we had to embrace Compass. Okay, I'm just going to bring you all the way back to the very beginning. That was the impression we got in all the committee meetings. So anyway, we said we would embrace Compass. Compass came to our office probably 2 or 3 times. I know at least 2 times prior to the 30th of July when we signed the contract. It's in your notes. Pardon the typing. And they wanted to embrace basically the selling, okay? And when you come to a business owner and say, I want to take control, in fact, we had one of the Gallatin High School coaches, teachers was at our office in the meeting, as well as a DECA from Beach at our conference room table. They were all excited. They asked us to be involved. They wanted to take on the selling for the county. Well, when you're looking at, we had already thought about putting 2 or 3 extra people on, okay, go throughout the county. So we're looking at, that's a huge expense that we don't have to worry about. We'd be crazy not to embrace that opportunity. So we did. We did not want to sign a contract for gross. The people out of Texas, you can say what you want to, folks, but you don't run a business on gross. And we had no problem with showing our expenses. We had no problem with an auditor showing up at our door. A little more than 4 hours notice, obviously, because I might be on break or whatever. But the point of the matter is, we would have rather gone with a net contract. That's what we kept saying all along. That's what we gave to Mr. Fuqua, was a net contract, okay? Because anybody in their right mind knows you can't do a gross contract in the environment we're in. You'll notice $1,750 was basically, let's say, a cost of an ad 10 months ago or 9 months ago per your information. So we're not quite in a year yet. And at $1,750, if we worked it off of gross, we can make some money. But we're all have been affected in this economy. And we're not sitting up here crying about it. I mean, we could be the Texas company still in Texas, not showing up at the meeting, but we're just down the road. And we're big boys. But getting back to your comment, why didn't you not know it? We've had a lot of information to a lot of people, but it wasn't directed to this board, apparently. We kept saying, listen, what happens if we have to cut our price in half? That happens in everybody's business, whether it's real estate, car sales, whatever it is. So if you go from $1,750 to half price 9 months later, and you work it off of gross, that means we're paying you $34 an ad. We are paying you $34 an ad for each ad that we sell. So what kind of incentive is that for us to sell it? We actually requested the very first meeting we had with anybody. I don't know how you distinguish the board from the director side. I apologize. But we were understanding that any information we gave that side, I'm trying to be political too, was funneled down to you guys. Obviously it wasn't. But getting back to July the 30th when we signed the contract, first and foremost, as my partner will agree, we should have been giving a go-to person then. And here's the things you need to do. Well, we weren't. We've made many attempts, both email, phone calls throughout that time period. Mike Frizzell was the chairman of the committee at that particular time, and he was very enthusiastic. We communicated with him almost daily until his term on the board ended, I guess, August, I can't remember. And, you know, we felt his enthusiasm. We want to work with somebody. We want to work with our client, you know, back and forth. But then after he left, no word. After he left, we tried to get in touch with Compass at that point. We'll name names, doesn't matter. Excuse me. To no avail. We couldn't find anybody at Compass.
Mr. Taylor, can I just interrupt you just for a second? Why
Sure.
are we dealing with Compass? The contract is with the school board. I don't even know, I mean, if you read this contract, and I've read it
I know,
several
ma'am.
times, and I saw your complaint when you talked about Compass, I have honestly no idea why we were talking about Compass and why they're even involved in this,
Well,
when
they
they're
were in-
not the board. I mean, I know who they are, I know they support
understand.
our schools, but I have no idea why they are interlocked in this
Well, they were
contract.
involved at the school bus committees meetings when we went to present along with the competitors. They had a representative there.
Well, again, the contract is
I
with us, and
understand
I'm
that.
not trying to demean what you're saying or whatever, but the contract specifically states that you will be doing the advertising, selling, and all of the, it's not Compass.
I
And again,
understand.
I've never even heard Compass's name brought up with this bus advertising, I'll be honest with you. And that might have been something that the advertising committee talked about, but that was never brought to my attention
I understand.
ever on this board level. So I'm just very confused on why we keep talking about Compass when that's not who the contract with. The contract is with this
No,
board.
I understand that, ma'am. But we didn't have direct contact with the board other than through the chairman at that point in time, was Mike Frizzell. Now, once he left or whatever, we had, nobody called us and say, okay, now this is the chairman, okay? And we're out there trying to sell. Obviously, we need to make money. We can't afford to lose money. But our goal, we're residents of Sumner County, our goal is to sell these bus ads, okay? For all our children. My son goes to Hirsville High School. And the last thing we want to do as a company, we have years and years and years of good reputation. The only thing we have is our reputation. Last thing we want to do is tarnish it because of a bus ad. But I know what the contract says. And that's the last time we signed a contract without our attorney looking over it. In fact, I worked on the contract with Mr. Fuqua while he was out west somewhere, back and forth. And the first, granted, we did sign the contract, I understand. And that was at the retail price we thought we could get for the ads at that particular time. I'm not denying that. We're grown men, I understand that. But what bothers me is that all the information we fed to whoever our contact was, whoever we spoke with, wasn't funneled down to you guys. And that's not my fault.
Okay, who are the people you're talking to? When you're saying you're talking to somebody, who, is it central office? Is it Ms. Dursky? Is it, I mean, who are we talking? When you say you're giving information and talking to somebody, who is that someone?
Well, I'd rather either in person or a committee speak on that.
All right, Mr.
Okay.
Taylor,
If
did you have
that's
something?
possible.
I did, Mr. Chairman. You know, I think this could last 2 hours, and I'm not sure we're going to get to the bottom of it. I'd like to ask 3 or 4 questions and then maybe make a motion on this. One is, Ms. Sweeney, what is the gross number that's been collected to date?
If you would step up to the podium so it's on record, please.
I'm sorry. Let me flip back to my spreadsheet. It was $45,898.
Okay. If you said you wanted to work on a net contract, if we received $5,422 out of $45,000 on a gross contract, exactly what do you think we would have received under a net contract?
Received the net.
Well, if our portion is $5,000 on a gross contract, what would our portion on a net contract?
Well, the expenses would have been taken out. I don't know what the net, at this point in time, I can't tell you. Mr. Hale.
Have you read the contract?
Yes,
that
sir,
you
I
signed?
have. Yes,
Have you
sir.
read the policy that was attached to it and the state law that was attached as an addendum to that contract?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. One of the things that I pulled out of my subdivision, and we've had this conversation before, so I don't mean to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
But I pulled into my subdivision yesterday, and there was an ad on the back of the bus. The ad looked real nice, by the way. I mean, it looks like the program's going, and the ad looked good. The problem with it was there were 5 faces on that ad. Our policy in state law says that that is to be text-based messaging. Text messaging. It's in our policy, it's in your contract, and it's in state law. That's an operational issue that we have to deal with. I'm not sure on a gross contract, if we're due 60% under a gross contract and we receive $5,000, and we were going to operate under a net contract, I would suggest we would have received $1,000. So I don't.
Well, that's only one piece, if I can interrupt you, Mr. Hale.
Just let Mr. Hale finish.
Okay.
So I think we entered into a gross contract. This is new for us, and it's new for you, and I understand that. And I want to give you the benefit of the doubt when at all possible. But some of this stuff, I sat down and talked with you myself. I know that you and I have had the conversation about what kind of ads goes on the buses. I know we had to add the conversation about gross versus net. I know that I talked to you personally about if there are art setup fees, you need to do those outside. And that's really, I think, what we're getting to here is how much is due for advertising, how much is due for your setup fees.
That's on the contract.
Outside of the contract. So I guess with all that, there's a lot of ways this could go. And there's more than we can solve at a public board meeting. And so, with indulgence of the board, I'd like to make a motion to send this to the executive committee and let them make a decision on whether to terminate this contract, whether to modify the contract, or take whatever action that the director and the chairman deem appropriate, and with the suggestion that if it is a modification, it comes back with something that resolves the open issue of how much money is owed to this board, and something that is mutually agreeable going forward. But if the executive committee says that this needs to be terminated, I want them to have the authority to do that. So that is my motion.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Brewer. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Wise?
Well, I guess it's on the motion. I have a question, Mr. Elliott, I think. What do you want to do? What do you think is the fair resolve?
Well, and
What do you want to happen?
I'm glad you asked. What we've always wanted. We want to sit down because, and can I address his question as well after I address yours? What I want to happen, we have put a lot of time and effort in this program. We have brought it to 20-point-something% of where it's at. And most of the ads that are on there, we spent weeks selling those ads to get it on there. This program is a good program. What it needs and what I want, first of all, if we're allowed to keep the program, is a dedicated go-to person that represents the board directly. So when we get that person information, it comes to the board. That's what I want. That's what we're aggravated about. We live and breathe this every single day.
So, in the beginning, you were going through Mr. Fussell, if I heard you correctly.
That is correct, sir.
He's no longer on the board, so boom, there goes your contact with the board.
As a matter of
And
fact,
you didn't think about, he's gone, maybe I need to get in contact with somebody else.
we tried, sir.
Okay, who did you try?
Well, we're not allowed to try, or what, we didn't think we were allowed to try anybody on the board. We emailed, you want to address that? We emailed Benny Bills, we made phone calls into the office. I don't think this is the place for that.
Mr. Chairman, we need to end this conversation right now. We
Yes.
need to end it.
I know.
You're making false statements, sir. We've been here every day for 2 years. Ms. Durska's available. We've tried to contact you. We need to end this conversation right now, Mr. Chairman.
We actually requested the first meeting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we can, we have a motion on the floor, and there is a second to send this to the executive committee. Is there any further discussion on the motion itself? Mr. Wise?
I would like to hear, prior to a decision being made by the executive committee, a final decision, I'd like to know what that is.
If you want a recommendation right now, I'll give you a recommendation, sir.
Okay.
We have met, Mrs. Dursky and I, and other people have met with these gentlemen several occasions. They've met without me, they've met with me. And to say that we've never reached out or been available is entirely wrong. It is not working, it needs to be terminated, and that'd be my recommendation to this board and this chairman, if it's not now, anytime for the next 2 weeks. If not, someone else can do it.
Why is it, well,
All right,
that's
Mr.
why,
Wise.
Mr. Long, I
Wait,
suggest.
Mr. Elliott. Mr. Wise? All
Mr.
right.
Chairman,
Mr. Brown?
I think we need to get back to the basics and get these guys in and have a heart to heart. You know, I'm a little bit concerned about this thing. I was involved on the committee at the start. And, I'm a little bit confused about this compass too. I've been in the selling game a long time. I lost a $250,000 one time on a deal because I didn't have the contract right. That's very sad. Now, for somebody to come in like Compass or whatever it might be and say, hey, we want a part of that action, we like the deal, I've seen them jump in the game too many times. Now, if you gentlemen think you've been mistreated some sort or some way, then I'd like to see us come back here and have a sit-down meeting with you and whoever, and let's see if we can get to the base of this thing. And if we can get to the base of it, fine. If we can't get to the base and and get the truism out of this thing, we ought to seek release and let them go about their business and let's go about ours.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Cox?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we defer this to a study session where First Class Marketing can bring a presentation. They can bring whatever facts that they want to bring that to. I would appreciate Mrs. Sweeney also showing up at that meeting, and maybe we also need a representative from Compass if they have been so involved in this. I'd like to maybe hear somebody from Compass to talk about what their involvement of this was, because apparently they've been kind of named in the report. See if we can clarify some of these issues, and then maybe after the study session, we can bring our recommendations back to this board whether or not to terminate the contract.
All right, I have a motion to defer. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Brown. We typically do not discuss motions to defer. I will say this, I too am somewhat confused that we've received less than 12% of what you say you've sold, or at least what Ms. Sweeney said she sold. So 11%, if we know we're operating under a gross contract, I agree. If this were a net contract, it'd be half that amount. And, you know, I'm assuming you're telling us that your cost was $40,000.
It's more than that.
So
It's on the handout.
all right, we have a motion to defer to a study session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Show Mr. Hale voting no. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda. Before we move on, folks, we're moving to new business. I would like to acknowledge that Commissioner Matthews is sitting in the back of the room. We appreciate you being here, Commissioner Matthews. It's always good to see one of our county commissioners show up at one of our meetings. Next item is new business, discussion and or action on memorandum of understanding with SCEA. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Duncan. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hale. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Did you have something before we vote, Mr. Wise?
You're moving kind of quick. I know it's getting
Almost
late.
8 o'clock.
Mr. Brown can stay awake a little longer. Ms. Dursky, page 62 in the packet, concerning the memorandum of understanding. Can you refresh me where this money's coming from?
This is coming from the federal grant that we received, Education Jobs. That money
Okay.
is available for 2 school years this year and next year.
Okay. Having recalled a couple of requests from different department heads and realizing that we have, I think, 4 trainers that are now salary employees. I know there's enough money out of that to do this. How much will be left out of those funds if we approve this?
Out of the entire original amount, okay, there'll be $1.2 million. The board has already discussed several things that money might be used for, and we're gonna have to talk about that when we prepare the federal projects budget to firm those up. But we talked about continuing academic coaches, transition coordinator at RT Fisher, and then some other possible salary supplements, retirement money, or other Pat Connors coordinators, 3 coordinators. So there are a number of possible uses for the balance of this money.
All right, is there anyone else? Let's try this one more time. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right. Mr. Brown, was that opposed? No. Oh. You did oppose it? All right. So we'll show that motion passes with Mr. Brown in opposition. Next item on our agenda, Board of Education consideration of the FY 2012 local consolidated application under No Child Left Behind, with the Director of Schools authorized to file any necessary budget revisions, addenda, or transfer requests. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Wise, a second by Mr. Duncan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll show that passes.
Mr. Chairman, that may be the last thing Mr. Beals gets to sign.
Mr. Wise, we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Item C, discussion and or action regarding education jobs bonus for, interim teachers. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, look, I spoke with Ms. Dursky about this on a couple occasions. This did not go through the compensation committee due to time constraints. And these are approximately 25, is that correct?
There are 31.
31, okay. They're full-time positions. What, all of them full-time? Okay, all full-time positions, licensed teachers. They are, most of them are individuals that would fall into the $400 range, I believe, not the $1,500. And total of about 16,000.
Well, with the approval of the memorandum of understanding that you just approved, that gives them.
About 20,000.
This includes them in the initial, it's 21,122.
21,122. And I make a motion we do approve this, at least for discussion. And if there's other things that Ms. Dursky needs to say.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Mr. Hale?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Has this been through, is this part of the MOA that we approved? Was this included in that approval? Because we are under.
The amounts that we negotiated, these are the amounts that we negotiated. What this does is include in the teachers who were paid the bonus, those who are filling interim positions for the entire school year 2010-11. Interims were not previously given the bonus, but these interims, these 31 individuals will have worked an entire school year by a week from Friday. And staff and other employees, administrators felt that they should be included since they were full year employees. Some of them have actually been with us 2 years. They are the interims for many of our academic coaches.
Okay, but this would, the MOA that was signed, these would be covered. There wouldn't be
Yes.
any
This is not in addition to
unilateral
that.
action without the MOA. Okay, that's what I was
Simply us
concerned about.
identifying additional employees that were eligible. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We'll show that passes. Next item on our agenda is item D, consideration of school fee request. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. Cox. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Duncan. Any discussion?
May I just clarify, just
You
to
may.
make perfectly clear what we're approving here? On the high school sheet, the long legal size paper you have, there is a recommended fee, and that is what we are asking your approval for, not what each individual school asked. And I believe the memorandum regarding elementary and middle has been left out, and the base fee there that has been requested is $45 for all grades K through 8.
All right, any further discussion?
One
Mr.
question
Hale?
on this. Ms. Dursky, Ms. Wheeler, Mr. Beals, whoever can answer this. We talked about using some of the textbook funds at the last meeting to buy those workbooks. Would this be inclusive of that, or is that a separate item altogether? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Brown? I was depending on you. We're talking about fees. All right, we have a motion to approve fees for yet again our free public education.
Before we approve them, Mr. Hale, is this still one of the things you want to put in the budget this year?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hale?
we haven't seen a budget yet, but I think we should probably approve the fees tonight and deal with the rest of it so they can set their budgets in case that doesn't go through.
That's what I agree to.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We'll show that opposed by Ms. Silkwood, any other, and Mr. Brown. Very good. Mr. Brown, I'm glad. Yeah. All right. Next item on our agenda is consideration of idea budgets for school year 11-12. It's on page 63. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. Cox, second by Mr. Wise. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We'll show that passes. Mr. Erskine, you're going to have to help me. Which one are we replacing here?
The first one we're replacing is on page 91. We are estimated to be short in several line items in a category where there is very little additional money available. Legal services, trustee commissions, diesel fuel, and unemployment compensation all look to be about to run over. And originally, the original amendment was to ask to use additional growth funds that we're anticipating. However, I think it would be more prudent of us to take that money from our undesignated fund balance, which we know we have that money. It will not drop us below the required 3%. We can use that, and when the growth money comes in, we'll just replenish the fund balance. I think that will be a more acceptable approach. So that's why I made the substitution on page 91. The other substitution is page 107. And that was a correction. The original information that I received had a wrong number in it, and I have just corrected an account code there.
All right, we're going to take these one at a time, Board. First would be item F, consideration of amendments to the general purpose budget, 15 amendments to the general purpose budget that Ms. Dursky described as being on page 91. It's this first handout that was provided to us. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Duncan. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Cox. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, does that also include the one additional?
I was going to take that up as a separate item.
Separate. Okay, thank you.
All right, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, that passed. Next item would be item G, consideration of 7 amendments to the 2010-11 general purpose budget. The that she described as being on page 107. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show that's passed. Next is the additional item. Ms. Dursky, did you have something you wanted to comment on that?
It's the third amendment in your extra handout. It's labeled technology, and it's just a transfer within category to cover the additional purchase of some equipment. It's a housekeeping amendment, really, just shifting funds to the right lines.
Motion by Mr. Hale. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Cox. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We'll show that passes. Next is items, discussion of study session items. Mr. Hale?
Mr. Long, if we could, we do have one motion that needs to be approved tonight from Facilities and Maintenance. Do you want me to do that under board?
We'll do that under the Facilities Committee here in
Thank
just a moment. Discussion on study session items. We have the one item we deferred. Mr. Hasse, you have that? Anything else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. We've already taken care of matters involving council. Next, Mr. Hale will be committee reports, Facilities and Maintenance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item that was recommended by Facilities and Maintenance Committee to the board for approval was the approval of the bids for the new bleachers at Beach High Gymnasium. And I think this has been out to bid now. We have that bid back. And Mr. Johnson was not here, so he didn't send me an update on what I'm supposed to read. So I'm going to ask those other committee members to help me on this. Ms. Dursky, what was that final bid that we're recommending for approval?
Facilities and Maintenance actually recommended Steve Ward and Associates, $209,998.
Okay.
The lower bid did not meet the specifications.
Right. And I think with that, Facilities and Maintenance, we will be following our bid procedures on here so that those monies are designated to the school before the bid is signed. So I think these are being funded through the County Commission, capital outlay, and we'll just make sure we follow procedure on that we have the funds.
Motion to
sign the bid.
approve.
All right, Mr. Hale already made a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Cox,
Second.
would you like to second that? All right, to be clear, the motion is to approve the bid for $209,998, that those funds will be deposited in our account, and that our staff will oversee the projects. Mr. Wise?
I think I heard you say 209,000, but then you say 290?
No, sir.
209.
209,998, I believe
I
is
did,
what
I
you said.
said it in error.
All right. Everybody understand the motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll show that's passed. Mr. Hale, do you have anything else?
Next item up is a discussion or action that we had on the storm damage to the roof at Rucker Stewart Middle School. Storm damaged that roof was scheduled for replacement in about 2 years. It's going to cost, I think it was $65,000 to repair the storm damage. 25,000 of that I think is deductible that we have to pay out of hand. So the Facilities and Maintenance recommended that we move the replacement of the Rucker Stewart roof to the top of the list and send it to the County Commission and ask them to fund that rather than spending the money on the storm damage and then within 24 months having to replace the roof anyway. So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve that strategy and ask the County Commission for the funding on to go ahead and replace that roof.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gregory. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Mr. Hale?
Let's see, the Facilities and Maintenance Committee heard a report from David Herndon with Kronos on the feasibility study to implement and expand the current timekeeping system to more schools. Assuming that the 1981 Financial Management Act continues to go through, staff has recommended that we will need to have this system in place. I think the cost was about $400,000 for proper timekeeping in order to do that. We did not take action on that, but I wanted to inform the board of that, and that was the report we got from the company that the county commission sent over to report on that.
All right, Mr. Hill, is there anything else?
Yes, sir. Next item, the facilities and maintenance for, staff actually at the request of facilities and maintenance for, at least the last 6 months has been working on a strategic plan for the custodial service, and essentially changing the organizational chart there where it would centralize the supervision of custodial services so all schools would be ranked and monitored. At this time, I think Ms. York in the central office, Facilities and Maintenance Committee is recommending that the organizational chart be modified in that area to allow for centralized supervision of custodial staff. So that is a motion.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, I have a motion, a second by Mr. Brewer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Show that motion has passed. Is there anything else, Mr. Hale?
Mr. Chairman, next item, and I'm going to need some assistance on this, was discussion or action on a proposal from the County Highway Department to improve the drainage behind T.W. Hunter Middle School. And it seems like the County Road Department is going to look at that, and they just asked for our permission to allow them to go onto the property and work on that for us. There's be no cost to the board.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion to approve that.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Cox. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right.
Last item that Facilities and Maintenance discussed and recommended to the board was proposed concrete walking track at Venus Stewart Elementary. Ms. Dursky, I can't recall the funding on this, but I know it was funded. There'll be no funds from the board.
That goes through the coordinated schools health grant that we receive from the state. And each year there's a couple of schools that participate in that. And they've been using a lot for walking trails, sometimes greenhouses.
Right. So that is funded, and I recommend make a motion to approval of that walking trail.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brewer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Hale?
That concludes the recommendations from the Facilities and Maintenance Committee.
We had a short meeting, as I recall. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Wise?
before we leave committee reports, since we only have facilities and maintenance on the agenda, I would like to give a report from the No Child Left Without Committee.
All right.
Is that?
Go ahead.
Thank you. On May the 7th, we had the Happy Feet 5K event, the streets of Indian Lake. I don't have a full report tonight. I will have next month. We had 167 runners. We had one old white-haired guy that stayed on the sidewalk out of the way. And I will have that 167 runners is, I think, the most that we've had since we've been doing this. So I will have, as I said, a full report next month. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wise. All right. That concludes our committee reports. Next will be communications from board members. Board, I typically ask each of you if you have any comments or anything you'd like to say. I'd like to start off this time if we could. As we all know, this is the last meeting that Mr. Beals will be sitting with us as the Director of Schools at a voting session. Now, we do have a study session remaining. I've already heard rumors that he may be sick or playing hooky, but we'll leave that decision up to him. Mr. Beals, I'd just like to say congratulations. 45 years, 46 years with one organization is just a remarkable accomplishment at any organization. I know that you've held various positions in those 46 years. That was, 10 or 15 years before I was born, so I won't try and remember all of them. But I know you have dedicated your life to this county and to this school system, and you're to be commended for that. All right. Any other board members have comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brown.
I'd like to report, I think last January, I made the motion. I'd like to have the building deferred at Westmore Elementary School to see what we could do with the building. We had kind of We had Mr. Bills up, Ms. Whitter came up last week to announce to the people up there what had happened. We have an operation now and in class. The Tennessee technical classes are going about, and there's cars there every day, and they're full. And the other buildings, the other rooms in that building are prepared and fixed, ready to go for additional classes that come in there. Up on the facing the building, up on the left-hand side, as Ms. Wheeler can attest, they've done a great job of getting these little kids program started off pre-K, and they've done a wonderful job. And we've got 24 little tykes in there that's up and going through their training program daily. And so we've taken an old building and done something with it. I didn't have anything to do with it. Thank to you people on the board that approved the thing, that let us, give us some leeway to work with. It worked out fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. You're being humble again. Mr. Gregory.
3 comments, please. First of all, a question to Ms. Wheeler. The Head Start program in Portland, have there been decisions for next year?
No, sir, there have not. The lady who heads that up had to have some major shoulder surgery, and she has been out of work, and I have not been able to reach her, even via cell. I hope we'll know by next month.
Okay. Next 2 things. First, and I usually try to commend the schools who have done a lot of extra work for grant money. And I know there were 2 in our book this month, Rucker Stewart and Brown Elementary. There may have been more. I hope, if they are, I sure hope I didn't overlook them. 2 of them. Are there more? Okay. Different grant money that they have done. And the next thing is that the assignment to school policy, I intend before the next study session to speak with someone with, in my opinion, would be the highest level, and not a person that actually lives in Sumner County, of this subject. And I'd like to incorporate some of that within our school board policy so that we will have hopefully a policy that we can live with for a good while. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Anyone else? Mr. Duncan?
Yes, to Mr. Bills, out of your 46 years, 23 of them I've been here along with you. We've had some ups and downs, some tough roads. I had a friend of mine, preacher friend of mine, wrote a song, and shortly after he wrote that song, he passed away. And the title of it was, I Won't Complain. He said, I've had some good days, some bad days. I've had some ups and downs, some cloudy days. I won't complain. And the reason why he said that in that song, I won't complain, is simply because God has been good to me. So he's blessed us. He's blessed you to stay 46 years. I know you've had some hard times, but I wish you much success. I hope you enjoy your retirement and do the thing that you want to do and go to places that you want to go. And don't forget about us. Come back and visit us every once in a while. Amen.
It appears this is a night where we're doing everything in reverse order. So, Mr. Wise?
Excuse me. We could have a board retreat down to Benny's condo.
Are you talking about the one in the Bahamas, or which one are you referring to? All right. Mr. Wise?
Benny, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done. You are an icon in Sumner County. And I just can't say enough to express how I feel about what you've taught me. An old Giles County boy and an old Marshall County boy wound up here in Sumner County and got together around this podium. And the thing I guess that stands out most to me with Mr. Bills his love for children. Every child in our building is like his child. I appreciate you so much for your heart.
All right, Mr. Hale?
Mr. Bills, I would add that you go with the gratitude of this board. I know I speak for everybody here. My wife was in second grade, and they got a new principal over there, and that was Mr. Bills. And she's had a crush on you ever since. And we appreciate it and wish you the best of luck. And on a personal note, we are neighbors living in the same community, and I'm going to honk at you every time I see you on the sidewalk. So,
Ms. Dunn?
I just wanted to mention I had the privilege in the past couple weeks to go to Millersville Elementary for their carnival on a Saturday and get to see their principal, Miss Stewart, get pies in the face. And they had a great turnout. The parent-teacher organization there is very supportive. It was a pleasure to be there with them. Second thing is going back to something we did earlier, and that is I do own a business in Goodlettsville, and we have a pretty good social network on Facebook. And so the past couple weeks we've been running our own Teacher of the Year, and it could be from any county. It wasn't just Sumner County because we have customers all over Middle Tennessee, and so we had tons and tons of teachers nominated and tons of teachers voted for, but the teacher that got the most votes happens to be Mr. Hale, one of our art teachers at T.W. Hunter Middle School. So we will be going tomorrow to present an award to him, and hopefully we'll get that in the Star News.
Very good. Ms. Cox?
Mr. Chair. I'm sorry.
He's want to go back around
Gregory?
again. First of all, Mr. Bills, congratulations, and thank you for everything that you do for the students and teachers and the educational progress of this county. It's to be commended, and we thank you for that. Second of all, I wanted to say I really had a joy and pleasure this month of attending a couple of plays, and I wanted to give them some props. KDDC had a great performance, Hairspray, and just the talent that Mr. Panera puts out every single year is just unbelievable. And I also went to Station Camp High School, Oklahoma. Again, just Mrs. T. Everybody had, Mrs. T or Mrs. P, and she does a great job. With that group, and Mr. Collins, just incredible performers there at those two events. Also, the Lady Bucks will be trying to get the region title tomorrow, so I want to give a shout out to them. And then just in closing, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of a very important piece of legislation. Just kind of on an opposite note, I did send that to you all, but it's House Bill 1805 or Senate Bill 1471. This will affect our school calendar. So it is a very important piece of legislation. The only opt-out that you get will be if you're a year-round calendar or if you have more or average more than 10 days a year on inclement weather. I've been talking to a lot of senators and a lot of representatives about this bill. It basically will mandate that we start our school the fourth Monday in August. Some major concerns that I have about this and speaking to educators is that, once again, if TCAP is in April, that will cut out our instructional time that we have if we have to start in August. Some other concerns that I have when I talked with Mrs. Wheeler today is that, again, if we start later in August, what will that do to end-of-course testing in December? Will we have to come back after Christmas break and take exams in January? I don't like that. So again, there's definitely some serious educational issues in my mind that need to be addressed with this bill. From what I've heard, it's more of a tourism bill. They want August to be kind of the month, I guess, that we continue to enjoy the area. But it seems like to me you can enjoy it in June as well as August. So would you please, as educators and parents and constituents, please make it known to Senator Roberts and Representative Maggart and all of our representatives that this is something that we need to consider seriously on the educational level and absolutely take TCAPs into consideration with this bill, because we are going to lose some instructional time if this bill passes. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Brewer, do you have anything?
Yeah. Excuse me. I too want to congratulate Mr. Bills on 46 years. I've been married 31, so I know how that's an uphill battle sometimes, but I'm just kidding, honey. I'll do it all over again. I don't live in the same neighborhood with you, but if I see you walking down the sidewalk, I will too blow the horn at you. So congratulations to you. I want to say congratulations to Ms. Dursky too on the award that she received at the County Commission last night, the top financial officer in the state, or I forget what the name of it was, but it was great anyway. I'd also like to commend Beth Cox on her speech last night at the county commission. I thought she represented this board very, very well, and for the 1981 Act. And I'd like to commend our chairman. Must have been hours in that presentation that he spent putting that together. It was a great presentation for this part-time position that he has. So I thought he did very well. I want to commend you all, and thank y'all very much for what y'all do. Mr. Bills, Ms. Dursky, Beth, Don, thank y'all very much. Y'all doing great.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Ms. Silkwood, do you have anything? No? All right, next item on our, Mr. Gregory.
Everybody's been making all these wonderful comments. Mr. Long, you think call a special call meeting for June 11th, and that, therefore Mr. Bills have to come back to one more meeting?
I don't know about that, Mr. Gregory.
Congratulations.
All right, next item on our agenda is comments from the director. Mr. Bills, do you have anything?
Thank you, sir. To our board members and to our community of Sumner County and to our staff, thank you for allowing me to serve and work with you people. It's been a great privilege and a great pleasure. To our citizens of Sumner County, you have the best county in the world. To our students, we know they are the best, and you've seen the accomplishments they've made. So to the new guy coming on the block, the best of luck to him, and certainly to our staff. We're going to miss you, but ladies and gentlemen, you've got the best staff, the best teachers, the best principals, and all the classified people in the world that work for Sumner County Schools. They are excellent, and they are to be so commended for the excellent school system we have. I'll miss you. See me at McDonald's out there by the college anytime. Buy my coffee for me. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bills. Ladies and gentlemen, with no further business of the board, we stand adjourned.